reporting for Katie Chats at the TIFF BELL LIGHTBOX in downtown Toronto with filmmaker Jody Shapiro. How does it feel to have your featured documentary, BURT'S Buzz, opening here in Toronto?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm a Toronto boy. I grew up in Toronto. I skipped my first week of high school to come to the Toronto Film Festival. I skipped my first few weeks of university every year to come to the Toronto Film Festival and see movies. So I grew up at TIFF, and then to now do a documentary and actually have it play at the Lightbox here, open for a theatrical run, is incredible. So it's kind of like a dream come true.
Congrats. And tell me a little bit about when you first met the iconic Burt. It really struck me that he doesn't have hot water and lives out in the country with so little. Were you completely shocked by how, sort of introverted he is?
Yeah, well, the first thing that I was shocked at was that he was a real person. I had met him because of another project, and the minute that I found out it was that we were going to go visit him, of course, the first thing I thought of, well, he's real. I knew him from the product, and remember seeing that image on the tin can of the lip balm, I guess, at the time. And you never just thought there was, you thought maybe it was just sort of a made-up kind of company logo. But it turned out that he was a real person, and a real person that had a very interesting and unique story about him. So sort of the documentary spidey sense started tingling, and I thought maybe there was a story there. And when I got to meet him and learned a little bit more, I determined that, I wanted to tell his story.
And what was the importance of sort of exploring Burt as a person and then Burt as a logo as well, and what the dichotomy between those two things?
Well, you nailed it right on the head. That's exactly what I wanted the film to be about. Burt the man versus Burt the logo. And when I first met him, I thought he had an interesting story, not only the startup of the company, but his life as a photographer. And I thought, oh, maybe there's something there, and I'm going to sort of pursue it and think about it. But I didn't really want to do normal biopic. Then a little later, I found out he was doing this tour of Taiwan, where he's still used as this spokesperson. And in Taiwan, he's incredibly popular. People are lining up around the block for his signature. So there I thought, well, that's the perfect scenario to sort of focus the film around. Burt, the man, the guy that lives on the farm, that doesn't want anyone showing up, and Burt, the logo, that goes on these promotional tours and gets just sort of surrounded by fans.
And when you were starting to work with Burt, he's such a genuine person, and he has his quirks, but how did you sort of break down that layer to gain the trust with him and to kind of get him to open up a little bit?
Yeah, well, he states many times he doesn't really like talking to journalists or reporters, but I realized that this was going to be take a long time to make this film, and actually what I did is we spread out the shooting over the course of a year, and part of that was to sort of ease Burt into it, but I spent quite a bit of time up there without filming anything, just speaking to him, and then once he got more comfortable, I just brought a tape recorder. I really wanted to get a sense of who he was. But I think the important thing for him, and something that I stressed quite a bit as we were making the film, was that this was his story. This was Burt's story, not Burt's Bee's story. So we wanted to focus in a lot on his philosophy, on his time as a photographer in New York City, and at which point he found this box of photographs that he had hidden in a closet, literally 2 inches of dust on it that hadn't been touched in 30 years. And I knew once he was starting to share that stuff with me that he would be kind of ready to be in the film. So.
And can you speak a little bit to just how inspiring he is in some ways, being so genuine and then also never seeking out fame and fortune, but, sort of genuinely earning it, or I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, I've always tried. He's a difficult guy to describe because he's full of contrasts, and that's the only way I can say it. On one hand, and I think this is true for everything that he does, he's completely authentic. He's one of those true individuals, one of those rare individuals that is true to himself. What he says, he means. What he does, he wants to do. Nobody pushes him into anything that he doesn't want. But that can expand over many areas, So yes, he's a guy that, states that, if he doesn't want people to show up, he'd rather pull out the shotgun, if people kind of come to the property. But at the same time, if you, make it past the gate, he'll sit there and talk to you all day and tell you stories. So he's got everything that he says, all the different parts of his life are still very true to him. So that still makes him a very authentic character and an interesting one to explore.
And in the press release, you had stated that you don't see Burt as a tragedy, even though he sort of got swindled out of BURT'S a little bit. Can you tell me a little bit about why you see him as not a tragedy?
Well, because he doesn't look backwards. He doesn't live that way. I think Burt's life is about the day, just the day, the present. He doesn't even really look that forward, to be honest. He could be just fascinated by the sun coming up, by the birds that happened to be flying around the property that day. We just had a screening with him in New York, and he came to it, the premiere screening, and I got a call from his assistant, Trevor, who's in the film, at 6:30 in the morning that said, "We got a problem, Burt doesn't want to come." And I was like, "Why?" He's seen the film, he likes the film, and he said, "Well, because Burt thinks that the lilacs are going to bloom today, and he doesn't want to miss it." And that's him, you know. This is a guy that, so as far as the company, as far as sort of his relationship, it happened, something happened, he dealt with it at the time, he moved on, and to him it's kind of an emotion that he's sort of buried, I guess, but doesn't need to call upon it.
And where's the best place for us to find out more information on Burt's Bees online?
You can go to the website, which is burtsbuzzdoc.com.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Congratulations, and best of luck with the film.
Thanks very much. I'm glad I finally got to do a Katie Chats.
Me too. Thank you. I'm Katie Uhlmann reporting for Katie Chats at the TIFF BELL LIGHTBOX in downtown Toronto.